over to video number 2, so I was just talking about how Christine was talking about acting a part and like constantly pretending and stuff, and I just talked about how my grandmother used to do that and how there were question marks over whether my grandmother might be autistic, but we don't know because she's dead and it's impossible to say for certainty. We've got absolutely no way of knowing, although my grandmother did raise it herself as a possibility. Like after I got diagnosed, my grandmother did quite a lot of reading into it, and she did query it with my dad, like whether or not she might be autistic, and my dad was like, no, don't be silly. And also my mum didn't think she could be because she was like basically able to have relationships and also could be quite manipulative and like lying and stuff, and like obviously like I know it's a bit of a stereotype and it's obviously some autistics can lie, but like yeah, my mum didn't think she was just because she could lie and was quite manipulative, and my mum was of the opinion that she had more of a personality disorder because she was very different to me in some ways, although there were similarities too, but like it was more like she was very socially gregarious, but it was all an act, and she went on a lot about like masking and stuff. Do you know what? New age autism, anything's possible now. And I actually think that if my grandmother was young around this sort of time, like say if she was around now and she was young, she probably would have jumped on the NDM bandwagon because it would have suited her ego and stuff, because she was very like kind of wanting to feel special and stuff. And I think she probably did have some personality disorder, and she had complex PTSD, but she has gone through the Holocaust, so that's kind of expected. Whether or not she was autistic on top of that, we've just got no way of knowing. But like, she definitely had something going on, definitely. Like, she wasn't normal, that's for certain. She had real problems around people, it's just they were obviously like very different to my problems. Whether or not she had some form of autism, like what I call new age autism, which is the new breed of autism, anything's possible. I personally am not sure. I go up and down about it. She definitely has something, but I'm not sure it's what I have. Definitely not what I have, but we have no way of knowing, do we? But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So again, Christine talks about how, so she was led into modelling as it provided her a role to play. And then when she was only 19 when she met Patrick. So that's very young, isn't it? When I was 19, I was still an extremely socially awkward teenager. I had no idea how to make friends, let alone make relationships, and I still got no idea how to form proper friendships with people. It's like Christine might be a similar age to me, but boy, are we different. She's obviously a lot more socially able than I am. I have no idea how to make friends. No, how do you chat up someone? I've got absolutely no idea. I'm socially dense. I've got no idea how to do it. I don't even know how these people manage it. Like, they obviously have some ability I don't have. But anyway, going off on one. Sorry. So she was 19 when she met Patrick. And for the last 15 years, her role has been a wife and a mum. So yeah, leaving a pretty kind of like run-of-the-mill normal life, normal in inverted commas. I wouldn't even be able to raise kids even if I wanted to. Like, I'm too in my own little world. If I had a baby and I'm not going to have any kids, basically if I had kids, they'd be taken into social care because I wouldn't be able to look after them. I'm not having kids anyway, but like I wouldn't, like if a baby was crying, I would get really pissed off with it because I just want to follow my interests because I'm too in a self state. I wouldn't be able to cater for its needs. So it wouldn't be fair for me to have kids anyway, even if I wanted them. It would be like really antisocial because I wouldn't even be able to look after them. And that is autism. Like, some of these people who manage it, I don't understand. They don't have the same condition I have anyway, but that's a different issue. Going off a bit on one there. Anyway, moving on. So since Christine was diagnosed, she talks about figuring out who she really is, and she's since separated with her husband. So she separated with her husband after getting a diagnosis, because she seems to suggest that the diagnosis kind of gave her permission to leave her husband, as it were. And she talks about shedding her old identity, and it shows her getting rid of the clothes that she used to sort of play a part in. She used to wear lots of clothes thinking she had to be a particular person, sort of like play acting, I guess. So she got rid of a lot of her clothes, like she's shedding her old skin since she's been diagnosed. Like, she talks about finding a new identity and everything, trying to figure out what her new identity is. And she talks about not really liking patterns at all. She used to wear like clothes with really bright patterns on them and sequins and stuff, but that isn't really her, and she actually prefers plain clothes, so she's been getting rid of a lot of her old wardrobe. I found that all a little bit strange, because like I've never gone through this whole identity thing. Like, I only got diagnosed because I needed support. It was never about identity, and I'm exactly the same person as I was now to before I got diagnosed. The only difference is I now know what my problems are. That's the only real thing that's changed. And I did go through a period upon finding out about my autism to like becoming almost a little bit obsessed with like psychology and stuff and reading up about it, because that was like, I guess, an attempt to kind of understand myself more. But and I still find it really interesting. Autism is a fascinating subject, but it's never been about identity or anything. I don't quite understand this whole kind of obsession with identity. I don't get that. And then she meets another woman diagnosed with autism in her 30s, like Christine. This woman's called Melissa, and she lives in Sheffield. And it was 10 years since she was diagnosed. 10 years since she was diagnosed. 13 years ago, when her son was 4 years old, and he was acting up in nursery school, he was diagnosed with autism, and then she started to think that perhaps her daughter was autistic as well, as until then she only thought boys could be autistic, and she also started to see it in herself. And at age 35, she was diagnosed, and also her husband received his diagnosis on the same day. So both her husband, both Melissa, her husband, and her kids are all autistic. That's interesting. Again, like, completely different to my experience. Like, I just don't understand how these people are able to form relationships. Like, if anyone understands why some autistics can do it and others can't, let me know, because I literally have no idea how to even form proper friendships. I'm too egocentric. Like, I can talk like what I'm doing now, and I can appear like to interact, but it's all an appearance, like it's mechanical. But the actual proper mechanics or nuances of how to make friendships, I have no idea. Like, literally no idea. I've tried it, and I always fail. And the reason I always fail, I even tried it with an autistic person at a group I met, and we ended up breaking up, although we're on good terms now. But that came to that kind of hit a brick wall, because I can't compromise. I can't reciprocate. I can't meet another person halfway. My routines come first, my interests come first. If someone asks me to do something for them and it's not and I'm not interested, I won't do it. That's no way to maintain a friendship. I know that, but I can't mask. I can't change it. It's autism. I can't do it. It's too much. I'm not interested in socialising. I switch off. I just go into my own little world to do my interest. People talk and I think it's just boring me as shit. I just close down. I can't do socialising. It's just boring. I don't understand. I don't understand. They don't have the same condition as me, okay? It's just not the same. I mean, I must be pretty severely Asperger's, because I've got literally no idea how to make friendships. I've never understood it. Let me know if you're watching this, if you're like the same me, by the way, because I keep on coming across autistics seem to know how to make friends and stuff, and I can't do it. And when I was a kid and a teenager, I thought it was a socialisation failure. Like, I thought my parents hadn't raised me properly. Again, I found out about autism, and I was reading all the old books by, when my mum first mentioned autism to me, she was the one who first thought I might have it, and my dad as well. And when I began reading books about it, like the old school books, I was like, whoa. Like, it's all to do with like empathy and stuff, and like autistics spin their own little world, and I was thinking, well, yeah, that's me. I'm in my own little world. I'm not interested in socialising like that, and it all made sense. But now, like, autism's completely different, and you come across these really social ones, and they're completely different to me. But anyway, I'm going off in a bit of a tangent. So she meets this Melissa and her husband, and she's autistic, and her husband's autistic, and her kid's autistic, and then Christine talks about 3 of her children all being autistic, and they talk about putting their kids first and stuff. That's the thing, I wouldn't be able to put kids first, which is why, even if I wanted kids, I wouldn't have them, because I can only put myself first. That sounds selfish. It's not selfish, that's just autism. It's like, it's not like a choice, it's just autism at the end of the day. It's self-state. I wouldn't be able, I'm being selfless by not having kids, because, if I was selfish, I'd actually have kids, but that's not right, and I'm not having kids because, like, I wouldn't be able to look after them. It wouldn't be fair. I wouldn't be able to put their needs first. So, again, Christine talks about she can't do last-minute changes of plan. For example, if someone says they're going out for lunch, if someone suggests going out for lunch tomorrow, she can't do that. So she's quite stuck in a sort of routine. She can't do spontaneity. I'm the same. I can't do spontaneity. And then Melissa talks about the need to isolate for her own health, but again she wants to feel included in stuff like outings. So there's this kind of like conflict. Christine talks a little bit about finding paperwork overwhelming, and struggling with decisions. Like, she's got lots of unopened mail and stuff. That's quite common in a lot of conditions though, not just autism. There's still a hell of a lot to cover. I think I'm going to have to stop now because I need to cover some more. Because it was quite a lengthy documentary. So I've just got up to the bit where Christine meets Melissa, who's a parent, late diagnosed. Her husband was diagnosed with autism as well. And she's got 2 kids who are autistic. So that's what I got up to. But I'm going to come back and carry on talking about this another time. So I'd appreciate all of your comments. This is a subject worth talking about a lot. There's so many different things to talk about here. So, thank you for watching.